Secretary Kerry, I want to read part of your statement back to you. Instead of convening a kangaroo court, the President might want to talk with the educated adults he once trusted to fill his top national security positions. It sounds like you're questioning the credentials of the President's advisors currently, but I don't think we should question your credentials today. Isn't it true you have a science degree from Yale? What's that?
Bachelor of Arts degree.
Is it a political science degree?
Yes, political science.
So how do you get a Bachelor of Arts in a science?
Well, it's liberal arts education and degree. It's a bachelor.
Okay, so it's not really science. So I think it's somewhat appropriate that somebody with a pseudoscience degree is here pushing pseudoscience in front of our committee today. I want to ask you...
Are you serious? I mean, this is really serious happening here?
You know what? It is serious. You're calling the President's cabinet a kangaroo court. Is that serious?
I'm not calling his cabinet a kangaroo court. I'm calling this committee that he's putting together a kangaroo committee.
What, are you saying that he doesn't have educated adults there now?
I don't know who it has yet because it's secret.
Well, you said it in your testimony.
Why would he have to have a secret analysis of climate change?
Let me ask you.
Why does the President need to keep it secret?
Let's get back to the science of it.
But it's not science. You're not quoting science.
Well, you're the science expert. You got the political science degree. Look, let me ask you this. What's the consensus on parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere?
About 406 today.
Okay, 406. Are you aware?
350 being the level that scientists have said is danger.
Okay, are you aware? 350 is dangerous. Wow. Are you aware that since mammals have walked the planet, the average has been over 1,000 parts per million?
Yeah, but we weren't walking the planet. Let me just share with you that we now know that definitively at no point during the past 800,000 years has atmospheric CO2 been as high as it is today. When I was in the South Pole, I wasn't at the South Pole, when I was in McMurdo, we couldn't get to the South Pole because of the weather, but I was given a vial of air which said on it, cleanest air in the world. It was 401.6 parts per million. That is 50 parts per million, already over what scientists say.
The reason you chose 800,000 years ago is because for 200 million years before that, it was greater than it is today. And I'm going to submit for the record.
Yeah, but there weren't human beings. I mean, there was a different world, folks. We didn't have 7 billion people.
So how did it get to 2,000 parts per million if we humans weren't here?
Because there were all kinds of geologic events happening on Earth which spewed up.
Did geology stop when we got on the planet?
Mr. Chairman, this is just not a serious conversation.
Your testimony is not serious. I agree. When you can't answer the question, that's the best answer you got.
I did answer.
I submit for the record an article called The CO2 Deficit. Thank you. Secretary Kerry, what is you avoided my colleague's question about how do you pay for it, but I want to ask, what is your solution to comply with the Paris Accord requirements? Like, what would you do?
I beg to differ with you. I did not avoid the question. I said there are many ways to pay for it.
He just asked for one.
Well, I did. I talked about the carbon pricing is one way to pay for change. There are all kinds of other things we could do. One would be to not give $1 trillion worth of tax benefits to the top 1% of Americans. I'm one of them. So I didn't deserve to get that tax cut. Nobody did in this country, at the expense of average folks who can't make ends meet. So that would be a fair way to start.
You don't want to politicize this, but you just played the 1% card.
No, I actually played a moral judgment about what is appropriate in building a civil society.
Well, what my colleague Comer from Kentucky knows is that this will fall on the poorest of the poor. It's regressive when you raise the price of energy in Kentucky or Massachusetts or Pennsylvania or France or wherever, whichever house you're staying in.
That is absolutely incorrect, that it would fall on the poorest people, because if you do it right, which hasn't been done here for a little while, if you look at the tax legislation, there are all kinds of ways to make sure that people at the bottom end, people struggling to get into the middle class, can be rewarded. And that's not what's happened.
So soak the
If you
rich.
look at the distribution, we have the most unequal distribution of income in America that we've had since the 1920s when we didn't have an income tax. We have a country in which 51% of America's income is going to 1% of Americans. That is not a sustainable political equation.
We have a
People
country,
need to
if you want
stop
to
and
use
think about that.
1920 as the
The gentleman's
benchmark,
time has
people in this
expired.
country are far better.
The gentleman's time has expired.